everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So Susan Rice, Obama's national security advisor, got caught with her hand in the cookie jar. Bloomberg News came out with a report where the Obama administration, at the very least Susan Rice, made requests for information on Trump's team. Now, she didn't do this directly. Ultimately, they were doing an investigation on this whole Russia thing. And Susan asked to unmask the person that they were talking to. Now, it's legal to have conversations or to monitor conversations that are going outside the United States. Inside the United States, it's supposed to be a no-no. Now, you can ask to unmask the individual who they're talking to. Susan Rice is making the point that, well, no, you could do that, but that's a process. And they make a determination on whether or not to give me that name. I can't just get that name willy-nilly. Now, this is her response, because this looks pretty bad. I mean, ultimately, it's one administration, or somebody in an administration, looking up information using intelligence services that's getting information on an opponent's campaign. That doesn't look good. So she said she would never do it. So of course she gave a complete denial. But she said the notion which people are trying to suggest that asking for the identity of an American person is the same as leaking it, that is completely false. There is no equivalence between so-called unmasking and leaking. Now Trump jumped on this and essentially is like, they're leaking information to the intelligence services to attack me. That's their line. That's the way they went with it. Susan Rice and her team is like, yeah, no, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. This never happened. Or at the very least, me looking at information is not the same thing as me leaking information to the press. Here's the problem in both cases. It's political at this point. They tried to delegitimize Trump with the whole Russia thing by essentially tarring him with Russia. They've been screaming about it for 3 months. So Trump has a vested interest in saying those guys are trying to essentially delegitimize my presidency. Those guys were leaking stories about me. It had nothing to do with Russia. They were leaking stories about me. He has vested interest in doing that. Susan Collins and the Obama administration has a complete vested interest in saying it never happened. We didn't do that. Because if I'm not mistaken, this may be a criminal offense if they get caught doing this. If it's discovered that one of the administrations started using the intelligence services, NSA, CIA, or whatever, to spy on an opponent, a political opponent, that is rough, man. That's rough. Now, here's the problem for Susan's case. You guys have been screaming out Russia for 3 months, ever since the election was over with, and maybe a month before the election was over with. There is not a shred of evidence, of substantial evidence, to back up your case at all. You wouldn't give the DNC, or the DNC wouldn't give us laptops or those computers to the FBI for investigation. They went through an organization called CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike has been getting mauled abroad for being shoddy in their process. Essentially, the criticism has been they're getting the information wrong, they're interpreting the information wrong, and they're coming to the wrong conclusions. That's called being discredited. Now, they even got to the point where they had to recant some of the stories that they wrote, or some of the report that they came up with, tying Russia to the hacks. The point I'm getting at is, this Russia story is unraveling, and there is no there. You've had Democrats backtracking, full-on backtracking, saying, yeah, there's nothing here. They were even concerned that coming out saying, okay, this investigation didn't lead to anything, would make the investigation look like a witch hunt. Newsflash, that investigation was a witch hunt. You had nothing. You had nothing. You had no justification. You didn't want to have the conversation about why she lost. You wanted to tar Trump and delegitimize him because you knew the Russia thing pissed him off. You wanted to make it look like, oh, he didn't become president on his own. He became president by a foreign agent assisting him in becoming president. Not that we had a horrible candidate. No, it was Putin and Russia injecting themselves into the United States election. If you knew that story was bunk, if you knew it was bunk, is it possible that the Russia story wasn't fully to delegitimize Trump, and it wasn't fully, well, I think it was to delegitimize Trump, but it wasn't fully to come up with a separate story about why Hillary lost, something to distract? That the Russia story was to give cover for the investigation, essentially saying Russia's hacking this election gave just cause to say, okay, now we can monitor these communications. And as we're monitoring these communications, we can now look back and see who these communications were going to. That's not far-fetched at all. It's not. I mean, certainly they knew some of the people who Trump was going to bring on his team. If they knew that there were certain contacts, they could have targeted those contacts. And in the process of targeting those contacts, it is a trivial thing to say, reveal who this person is to me. Now, I don't know the legitimacy of what Susan is saying in regards to that quote-unquote process. Politicians lie through their teeth constantly. So take what she's saying with a grain of salt. I would say that that Russia story is bunk, and that Russia story is falling apart. And if they wanted to bet the farm on that Russian story, why on earth would they bet the farm on a story that is falling apart? There was no evidence for it. There was no evidence. Now, maybe they just assume, well, this story will give us enough cover, so if anybody investigates and finds out that we were asking about Trump, we can just say, well, we were looking for security issues concerning Russia. It was a clean look. There's no way to know. That's what it boils down to. This doesn't pass my sniff test. But there's no way I can say for certain, yes, she was investigating Trump in order to use politically damaging information and leak it to the press. Is it possible? Oh yeah. I would. Look, I don't put that stuff past politicians. Ever since I listened to the Nixon tapes, my cynicism is intact. Nixon, in one of the cases, he offered a job to a woman. And in offering her the position, Nixon knew full well that she wasn't going to get approved. But he offered the position because he wanted to essentially tar women so it can set them back. While at the same time, he can say, I tried to put one up. I tried to put a woman up. She just wasn't qualified for the role. So he was able to essentially do two things at once. Look like he's doing something progressive, while at the same time setting women back in the process. It's politics. Because politics is shitty politics, but it is politics. Do I put it past the Obama administration for spying on a rival? No. No. I wouldn't put it past a Republican administration. I'm damn sure not putting it past a Democratic administration. They're going to have to investigate. They're going to have to investigate. And the problem is this investigation is going to be massively, massively political. So, who knows? Who knows? Are they going to have an independent investigator to look into the information? Who knows? Even an independent investigator is put up by somebody. Someone who has some kind of political leaning. Meaning you're never going to get a process that's just clean and trying to get the information itself. This is the problem with integrity. Or lack thereof. There's no way to know what's true. There's no way to know what's true. Yeah, guys. We'll keep an eye on it. I mean, ultimately, keep your eyes open. I would imagine that they are going to continue this investigation. And, man, if they find out in this investigation that the Obama administration was doing this intentionally, and, man, if they find out that they leaked that information to the press, somebody's going to jail. Somebody's going to jail. That's an amazing thing. You're talking about subverting a political process. These parties aren't part of government. Understand what I'm saying. These parties are two corporations that are taking chances at like project management or something. The management in this case is management of the government. They're not fundamental to the government process. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party can go bust tonight. This country will be okay. Another party would spring up and things will keep going. Those parties are not part of the process. They're running. Any party can run. They're excluding other people from the process in order to maintain a duopoly in a sense. The point I'm getting at is they're not aspects of government, and yet they're using the levers of government to attack political rivals. If that's uncovered, That is a big deal. That is a really big deal. So we'll see. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, feel free to like, share. Definitely feel free to comment. And also, you can support the work on Patreon. Thanks, guys.